My parents want me to take out a loan. Why? To pay for my entitled sister's house. That's right, she's lazy and I'm not going to stand for it. Here's exactly what happened. I respect my parents and pick my battles when it comes to my mom most of all. I've done a lot for the family, but I know that they did a lot for me as a kid. But I do not feel as if I owe my sister anything for me to have to take out a loan to pay for her house. Yes, her house, because she's pregnant, yet somehow, I'm responsible for the fact that she doesn't have a house with enough space for her family to stay. Now, I'm in the middle of family drama where I'm being seen as selfish. She's older than me, female 32, but she acts like she's the baby of the house. At 30, I work a corporate job for a lot of hours per week, and I guess I'm considered a workaholic. I'm not stingy, and I've helped her out with small amounts from time to time, which she used to pay back. She's not worked in the past 2 years after her wedding, which I was forced to pay for. When Mom came to tell me that my sister and her fiancé were struggling to make ends meet and the wedding might get canceled, I offered to do anything to help. I paid the small sum to help with the expenses. But Ella came back to tell me that she was behind on most of the stuff. At the time, I was just starting to do well financially and wanted to do a down payment on a car. My dad was the only person I talked to about it, but my sister said that surely her wedding was more important for them than buy a car. I was mad at my dad for just casually telling my sister when she came running to him. And it's not my fault she had planned an expensive wedding she could not afford to pay for. Her husband tried all he could to meet her demands, but she is never grateful. All she knows is how to shed tears when things don't go well for her. She's always felt entitled to handouts, and most of the time she gets what she wants. My parents do not see how manipulative she is. I've had to clean up so many messes for her without my parents even knowing, because she does not believe that actions have consequences. She stopped talking to me after I told her that I could not just pay for most of her wedding, because I had expenses of my own. My mother has always been my weak spot, so when she called to tell me that I disappointed her, I felt bad and ended up coughing up the money enough to pay for 50% of the wedding. She promised she would pay me back, but she got pregnant soon after, and I could not pressurize her for it. I told her to consider it as a gift, then we moved on. She did get a bit upset when I talked about setting up an installment plan. I soon realized that I had to let it go and not hold anything against my sister, especially now that she was going to have a baby. The wedding went without any hiccups, and she gave birth. There was a whole lot of drama between her and her husband's family during and after the wedding, and she ended up cutting ties with them. From what I've heard, she had uninvited his family members when they refused to buy expensive gifts off the wedding registry. My mom took her side and said that her husband's family was wrong. She made Phil choose between her and his family, and the poor man no longer has a relationship with his family. I did not get involved in any of that for my own sanity, but that's just another example of how she thinks that the whole world owes her something. Now, it is 2 years later, and I've just found out that she's pregnant yet again. She has her husband live in an apartment with my nephew, but they've been complaining about the size, but that's all they can afford. She's not worked for 2 years, so they only rely on his income. I suggested that they try to rent out a bigger flat, but they say that it will make it harder for the husband to get work. Plus, they would have to sacrifice on safety. I was called for dinner at my parents' house a few days after we discussed their housing issue. Throughout dinner, my mother kept speaking about how she knew friends in real estate who could help them out, but they would need a loan to buy the whole house. I was not invested in the conversation, which was until my mother asked how good my credit score was. I found it odd because she never asked about my finances. I have my parents' money here and there to help with expenses, since they were close to retiring. My mom is a teacher, but these days she's a substitute teacher, and my dad no longer works. I do not mind helping out because they do not ask for much. I also have a pension fund I set up for them, which they can withdraw from when money's tight. But they have been saving it. When I see that it's lower, I always add more money. But I made them swear not to tell my sister because I do not want her to ask for money from them. After all, they do not have stable income. I said that it was pretty good, which was when I saw my sister's eyes light up. Then my mother asked if I could maybe take out a loan to help them buy the house. Paying for a wedding is one big thing, but buying a house is taking it a bit too far, which is what I told them. My sister got upset and said that I was never going to let her forget that I paid for her wedding, as if I was the problematic one. I've not brought up the wedding issue for a long time, and it was just an example. I told everyone at the table that I was in no position to take out a loan, especially to buy a house for someone else. But they insisted that I had a well-paying job and could pay it off quickly enough. I was living in a bachelor's flat, so why would I buy a whole new house for someone? I told them to let it go because it was never going to happen. But I saw the look in my mother's eyes, and I knew that I was going to have to fight tooth and nail for this one. I left before they even brought out the dessert because I was avoiding my mother. I hoped that I would never hear about this crazy matter again, because there was no chance I was going to spend years paying off a house I wasn't even living in. They tried to guilt trip me, telling me that my sister lived in a matchbox, so it would not be healthy to bring up 2 or more children there. I was not the one who decided that I wanted to have kids. I'm a stronger believer that if you're going to have kids, then make sure that you're able to provide for them. My mother would not leave me alone after that, which got really annoying. But I did not dare block her. She was just dramatic enough to hunt me down wherever I am and make me pay. I did seek advice and maybe protection from my Aunt B, my mom's older sister. I was not getting much done with my mom budgeting and guilt-tripping me nonstop. My sister was not any better. She sent me pictures of houses that she wanted and even suggested that I come and pick a house with her. I knew it was a trap and did not answer any of her messages. I could see that her husband was embarrassed about the situation, but he was being bullied to go along with it. He said he offered to take out a loan, but the money he would get could only buy a small house, and my sister wanted a big house because she wanted to show off to their friends. He apologized and he understood the pressure that they were putting on me, and that made me feel a little bit better. I suggested that he should explain that to my mom, because sometimes she could be reasonable, and our conversation ended there. Aunt B came back with, quote, good news, saying that my parents were offering to pay for 30% of the total cost, while I could cover the rest. I could tell that it took a lot for my aunt to even attempt to change my mom's mind, but it was made up. It did not feel great that my parents were always going the extra mile for my sister, but not for me. I was just expected to figure it out. When she messed up, my parents cleaned up the mess, but when it came to me, they said that they expected better. I thought that when I started earning, they would at last be proud of me. But it seemed that I graduated to the status of the family bank. And I do not have the guts to say no. It was my lack of being assertive that's landed me in such a compromising situation. So I decided that if it was time, I made everything clear to my family and shut down the idea that I was going to contribute even a penny to my sister's house. I called a family meeting with not just my parents and my sisters, but my extended family as well. It was a dirty move because my mom did not get along with most of them very well, but I knew they would apply enough pressure on her to leave me alone. The family meeting backfired on me in several ways. Most of the people in attendance thought that my mother was toxic and said mean stuff to her. She in turn got angry and started calling everyone hypocrites. She said that they were trying to turn her children against her, and that it was an ambush. Even when Aunt B tried to tell her that I also have a life of my own and maybe get married and wants to buy a house one day, and it would make it hard if I was paying the loan. My mom did not want to hear it. A lot of my relationships failed in the past whenever I got my mom involved. She would sometimes joke that I was just going to keep taking care of her because she was the one who loved me most. But now I think I'm starting to see that my mom's been controlling me for a long time. Then she started crying and saying she felt like a huge burden in my life and she was sorry. This made me feel so bad about it, and the family meeting ended up with Mom crying, and made me feel bad that I have brought this ambush upon her. My dad demanded that I apologize to her immediately after the meeting, and I tried. She said that she was getting very old and just wanted her kids to have each other's back, and not let anyone come between them. She told me that my sister was in a fragile position with her pregnancy, and did not need so much drama that I was causing. I was taken aback because it always seemed like no matter what I did, she would never appreciate me. I told my mother to never mention the idea of me buying my sister a house again, or I would stop contributing to their lifestyle. This started a whole other thing where she said that she took care of me, put me through college, etc. So she had a say in my money because I owed her. I told her that she was my mother, and she was supposed to look out for me, but right now, she was not doing that. She was just being selfish, honestly. Our conversation ended on a sour note, and she did not want to speak to me at the end of the day. Just when I thought it would never end, my sister came to the apartment with her husband. She said that my mom had told her the horrible things that I said to her, and she thought I was just being a spoiled brat. Look who was talking. Someone who wanted a whole house without paying for it? She then proceeded to say that I was not invited to her baby shower. She was going to have an unconventional one where everyone was invited. I told her that she could ban me from all her life events if she wanted to, but that would not stop her from being an ungrateful little witch. She then slapped me and was on her way to grab something to physically assault me. That's when her husband stopped her. She told him that he was a traitor and was going to sleep on the couch for taking my side. The poor guy barely even spoke while she was screaming like a banshee. I told her to get the hell out of my house before I called the police. She was all shocked and said that I showed my true colors and I was selfish. She started going off that she was going to get me kicked out of the family because I fought with her. She has this problem of lying about stuff that's never happened before, and not even 10 minutes after she left the house, my phone was buzzing with relatives asking me why I was fighting with a pregnant woman. This is what I grew up with, always getting blamed for stuff I did not do, and I've always tried to overcompensate so they would treat me decently. I told security to not let in my sister or my mother into my house, and my assistant to not take in any calls from them. I was not going to go back on my decision, and the sooner they made peace with it, the better for everyone. I had a business trip for a week in the middle of the drama, so I switched off my personal phone and used my work one that my family does not have access to. Honestly, I hoped the business trip would last for ages, because I did not want any more drama when I get back. I was back in about a week, and surprisingly, my phone was not vibrating with crazy texts from them. But I did get notified of some trouble with one of the pension funds I set for my parents. My sister was acting nice and saying they miss me at the shower, which she did not invite me to. I recognize fake niceness because I've known her for ages, so I was not buying in the slightest. My mom was also talking to me again, asking why I did not let her know that I was out of town. Little did I know that all hell is broken loose. It's only been a day since I got back home, and I'm only now receiving a text message from my sister. She said that she can't wait to tell me. But my selfishness did not pay off, and I'm looking for her. She has a new address. So I asked her if she took out a loan and bought the house. Then Ella says, "No, silly, our parents gave me the money to buy the house." And to say I'm furious would be an understatement. They know they don't have a stable income right now, but once again, Ella gets what she wants. I asked her how they got the money, but she only replied with pictures of the home. I feel like this is a bad idea, and here's why. My parents are old and nearing retirement. They cannot start spending a crazy amount of money. So yet again, my entitled sister wins. I don't know who's worse in this story, the entitled sister or the parents for buying her the house. It's just so crazy to me, but I do have some news for you guys. There's a part 2 for this story coming up in a couple of days, so make sure you subscribe to the channel because if you thought that one was wild, just wait till you see what happens to this entitled sister. I'm telling you, it's insane. Okay, our final story of the day is titled, "My Pregnant Ex Keeps Trying to Move Into My Apartment." Guys, this one's juicy and full of drama. Smash that like button, let's jump into the story. So, I, 21 male, have an ex named Angelica. She's 20. Angelica and I had an on and off relationship since we were about 15, but got serious when COVID hit and I had to make back to my hometown. We got an apartment together, and very soon after, she started spending a lot of time with her, quote, cousin. Long story short, she's boning her cousin. So we break up. We've been broken up 9 months at this point, and for 7 of those months, her phone has been on my phone bill and she owes me over $500. Fine, whatever. I'll never see that $500, and she always makes excuses to pay me back. That's life. My own fault for letting her keep using me as a cash cow. She also took my car when we broke up, and I let her because I was too afraid she would try to take my apartment too. Anyways, it's 9 months past our breakup and I get a message. "Hey, I'm pregnant." I'm on my way home from work, so I don't respond. That is 9 months past being my problem. It's not my baby. She messaged me again. My boyfriend, yeah, the one she cheated on me with, and I have nowhere to stay. Still, 9 months past my problem? Angelica's never worked a day in her life. She lives off disability check from her boyfriend and spends 99% on marijuana and fast food. She's never paid rent and is documented to never pay rent. Anyway, she tells me, quote, "My name's still on the lease, we're going to move in till September." I tell her, "Your name's not on the lease, it was renewed last month and I took your name off. I'm sorry." She messages me calling me an a-hole and saying she's moving in because she has nowhere for her baby and 3 dogs to stay. Mind you, my apartment is more like a studio and barely fits me, let alone 2 other people and 3 dogs. I tell her it's not happening. I'm moving out of town soon anyways. Also, come pick her up her shit that she left at my apartment for 9 months. She says no, and if I throw it away, she's going to press charges. I tell her it doesn't matter because when I move, I'm throwing it away. She later called my landlord and told him I was planning to move out. I got upset at this, and I told her that I ran the numbers on the car. It's still in my name. Get the car out of my name now, or I'm repossessing it. Or she can leave me the duck alone. She started bawling on a call, asking how I could do this to her and her unborn child, and I was condemning her and her child to be homeless. She's also still has a gun in my name that I told her to give back or I'm calling the police. I'm really considering repossessing the car since it was mine from the start, and it's still in my name. She doesn't deserve to get a free car handed to her. She needs to wake up. She keeps saying she needs a place to stay, and I'm ruining her and her baby's life. It's literally my apartment that she's never once paid rent on. I don't know how she thinks she's entitled to just live in my apartment with the guy she cheated on me with and 3 dogs. I hope the baby ends up okay. It's not its fault its mother's a spoiled brat. But I also hope being homeless and carless wakes her the duck up. Tiny little update. My friend said his ex is coming to pick her stuff tomorrow and return the gun. If he gets shot, I'll let you guys know, I guess. Update. Her and her boyfriend, aka fake cousin, came to his, my friend's, apartment, returned the gun, and picked her stuff up. Her boyfriend then proceeded to wave his own gun around and demand to be put back on the lease. Yeah, buddy, that's not how that works. My friend called the cops. They booked it out of there before the cops arrived, and I'm not sure about the rest. Alright. Final update. Phone is not on the phone bill. Her stuff is out of his apartment, his gun is returned, dog is in his possession, still no vehicle. He says it's not worth it at this point, and my friend asked for no charges, so I doubt anything will happen. He says he's cutting her out of his life, no contact. I'm personally upset about the car, but nothing to do about it now. Well, it's safe to say that this one was crazy. I did not mention in the beginning of the story, this was actually told from a third-person perspective of OP's friend, so if it was a little confusing at the end, that's why. But I do want to read a comment from the original thread, and it states this. Dude, your friend needs to file several police reports, like yesterday. First and foremost, for the firearm that she has in her possession that's registered in his name, if he hasn't reported it stolen and she uses it in any kind of crime, he's gonna get the charges for not keeping track of it. And at the very least, and the car, who has the title? Did he sign it over to her? If not, that needs to be reported stolen as well. I have to say, I agree with this person. I think OP was just giving too much to this girl and letting her walk all over him. Let me know in the comment section down below how you would handle this situation, so drop your thoughts, subscribe to the channel because you do not want to miss part 2 of the first story that's coming out in a few days, I promise. Guys, have a wonderful day. Mr. Reddito will catch you next time.